Hello everyone, what do we got for you today? Well, how about a review of Castle of Shikigami 2? I wasn't planning on reviewing this, but it slid across my desk as a download code from the publisher, and so I thought, why not let me tell you about it. The Castle of Shikigami series has a bit of a weird history, especially in the West. The original Shikigami was known as Mobile Light Force 2 when it released on the PS2 in the West. And if you were wondering what Mobile Light Force 1 was, well, that was a retitling of Gunbird, which, while awesome, isn't related to Shikigami in the slightest. Don't you miss those days when Western publishers just didn't care? I do. There are no surprises anymore. Look, they couldn't even be asked to change the box art. I love the total absent-mindedness. At least with this game, its sequel, Shikigami 2, it released almost untouched in the West, although people were probably wondering what happened to the first castle. And I'm asking the same thing on the Switch. Where the hell is Castle of Shikigami 1? We've gone straight for the second game in the trilogy. Maybe this is their revenge for what we did to the series back in the day. I don't know, whatever. On to this game. So, it's a vertical shooter, as you've seen, and it's pretty badass. I'm having a lot of fun playing it. Flying over 3D backgrounds, you're getting into some decent bullet hell action over 5 stages, each of which has 2 parts to it. Yeah, it's pretty short, but I'd say it's still quite generous for an arcade shooter. It's a bit slower paced, and each stage, having 2 bosses and varied locations, makes it feel a bit longer than it actually is. There are a few modes available, nothing incredibly different between them. Your classic arcade mode, new entry mode which has different enemy formations, dramatic change mode, which I'll get to in a second, and practice mode. Now, Shikigami is a big scoring shooter where you will be scoring in the billions just by pressing the start button. As a personal preference, I've always preferred scores to be a bit more grounded as to give it more weight. I mean, as soon as you're like scoring in the billions and trillions, it loses all meaning to me personally. Like, having a few grand in your bank account is a lot more meaningful than a couple of billion. You appreciate it more. Anyways, there's quite a bit going on under the hood here, but the main scoring gimmick is taking advantage of the TBS, which sounds like the latest in vehicle braking technology. It's kind of apt because a good comparison is Burnout, the racing game. The closer you are to danger, the bigger the bonus points. Being a pansy and shooting from distance won't get you very far. You will not impress the ladies at all. What really gets them excited, even looking at your balding head and chubbing gut, is when you are millimeters from death. Depending on the distance, you can earn up to 8 times the points. As you can imagine, that's a massive difference and means you're always on the cusp of death, which will be an adrenaline rush for the junkies out there. You even get a rather exciting visual change in your shots as they get more powerful when you're at maximum danger. Living on the edge is fun, but you probably won't get too far in the game because, of course, it is quite tough at first. You need a lot of practice to get far in this one. I mean, if you just want to play casually, that's alright too. Maybe you're not into high scores so much as just surviving on as few credits as possible, and yeah, that is possible with an easy mode, but you won't see all the stages there. And be warned, if you're like me, it may take a good while before you're good enough to see any kind of ending because you can't credit feed. You've got 3 credits and that's it, game over. I believe you can unlock a free mode later on, but from the off, you've got 3 credits, that's it. So you're gonna have to get at least a little bit good if you want to see the story for each character. And there's a lot of characters. There are 7 characters each with their own shot style and Shikigami, which is a special shot which happens if you hold down the shooting button. If you thought that was a lot of variation, how about each character having 2 variations on their Shikigami? Mildly different, but definitely enough to add to the feeling you're playing a different style if you're choosing one or the other. I'm still trying to figure out who I like best. Daejeon Kim, pretty cool when you can make his sword like butterfly wings or something. I'm also currently partial to a bit of a Sayo Yuki, who's a shrine maiden, and so reminds me of Pocky and Rocky, throwing cards like she's a coked up croupier. Just like another favorite of mine, each character has their own really short story within the 5 stages. The dialogue is different for each character, but just to add that extra layer of presentation, if you're playing 2-player, different combinations of different characters also have their own unique story segments. So there's a lot of combinations and endings that you can see. Thankfully, in this port, there is a mode called Dramatic Edition, whereby you don't need to rely on a useless friend to play with you. The game automatically pretends the other character is there. This allows you to play solo, but also see the story combinations, which is very much appreciated. One thing to note is that the original Western release on PS2 was notorious for having one of the worst localizations in history, with dialogue so horrendous it was rather charming. Rather happily and also mildly sadly, I suppose, for curiosity's sake, that is out of the window and there is a new localization, which seems alright. I mean, it's hardly Chaucer, but I wouldn't expect it to be. It's not that important anyways, but whatever. In other presentation aspects, you can rotate the screen and enjoy vertical mode, which is the best way to play in my opinion, although you can probably see from my footage, I'm playing extra worse, mainly because I was standing a meter away from the screen at a 45-degree angle. Not the best setup I've ever had, gotta be honest. There's also the option of playing with the original soundtrack or a new remixed version. It's a nice option to have, but in the heat of trying to stay within a pixel of oncoming enemy bullets, I wasn't particularly concentrating on the sounds. Now, this game is priced at £30 in the UK, $35 in the US on the eShop, and I know, I heard you all sucking in the air. It's pricey, there's no denying that, but there's always like an existential crisis when it comes to talking about price, because there's almost no rhyme or reason to it at times when it comes to shooters. Some classics go for $10, $15. If you're M2, you think it's more valuable than jet fuel and diamonds combined. This falls somewhere in the middle, but let me tell you, as long as you're not playing this just once and you promise yourself to dedicate the hours needed to master it, it's going to be worth it for shooter fans, of course. The amount of characters is what sells it, and not only just the characters, but their different stories, and also having variations of each character in their playstyle. There's a lot to try out, a lot of things to try and master, plus there's the modes. You know, shmup fans, I mean, you've already bought it, I don't even know why I'm talking about it. If you're on the fence, maybe you just want to wait. If you're not a hardcore shmup fan, you maybe want to wait for a sale, or buy the physical version. That's always the best way to go, since you have tangible value, you can sell it on afterwards and stuff like that. Currently, it's available physically in Japan, and it does play in English and will play on any Nintendo Switch. You may have to delve into the settings to change it to English, but you know, English is there, and if you want to order it right now and import it for yourself, check the links in the description and pinned comment. Any purchase made will also help support us. Plus, you can get 5% off with our current discount code SWTV23. Now that code is good until June. Subscribe, watch the latest Let's Get Physical video every Monday for the latest code updates if you're watching this in the future. If you have a bit more patience, however, there's rather miraculously going to be a Western physical release in Europe by Red Art Games, and North America via Video Games Plus. Links are below for both of those as well. Well, when they actually appear, there's been no word as to when pre-orders are going to go live, but I will add them when they are there, I promise. It should be sometime this year, I would hope. So yeah, take your pick. Get the early Japanese version or have patience for a Western release. Overall, I really like this package a lot. I'm always partial to a shooter with lots of characters, and this excels in that department. It has a fascinating gameplay mechanic, it's well presented in terms of visuals and audio, and I can only fault it for like slightly awkward menus before getting into the actual game. There are too many menus within menus within menus, but that is a minor gripe. I think this is a really good one for fans of shooters, perhaps not for a more casual audience unless the price was a little bit cheaper. An 8 out of 10. Alright, many thanks for watching. If you watched all the way through, leave me a castle emoji in the comments in honor of Castle of Shikigami 2. It's a really good shooter. If you do like shooters, perhaps check out some of my other reviews of shmups. I don't do them too often these days because the comments often make me despair, but check out Softstar, which is a great modern shooter. Or if you're feeling like a big spender and wanting the best of the best, check out ESP Rade. There's no English there, but it's fine. Yeah, whatever. I'll see you over there.